So there I was, just trying to make a pretty dress, but everything was terrible. Oh, hi. Welcome to Sewing Nerd Studios. I am Jo. If you're new to the channel or one of my beloved bog trolls, let the chaos ensue. This whole month, right, was gonna be Dress-tember. I was gonna make some fabulous wares for some holiday festivities, and nothing went to plan. Okay, almost nothing went to plan. I was really gung-ho about this one pattern, and even though I was sewing with this fabric the whole time, it wasn't until I did the first test fit of the bodice that I realized I wanted to die in this fabric. It's taffeta. I didn't know any better. Touching it now, it's like when you take a bite of something that has gone bad and then you like can't eat that for a while. That's how I feel about touching this fabric now. So that is why I'm barely holding on to it. If I can bear to do it, I will put it on my dress form because I'm unwilling to try to put that back on my meat sack. It's not a bad pattern. I don't dislike how it was turning out shape-wise, but I just could not abide interacting with this fabric anymore. Already off to a rough start. And then I abandoned that project because I also was not going to have time to make something that I would end up wearing to one of the holiday parties I was going to. Actually, the only holiday party I was going to. So then I thought, okay, I have this gigantic bed sheet. I think it was a tablecloth or something. And I just kept picturing it being like a tree skirt, and I really wanted to kitsch it up, but after multiple efforts to decorate it with some heat transfer vinyl, at least the metallic HTV that I was using was not sticking, and that made me very angry, so I tried to paint over that since there was like glue burnt into the fabric, but then the paint also wasn't getting opaque enough for me to like it, so then I just cut out a felt star and stitched that on instead. And then I had a last-ditch effort to make this like work themed, because I do work part-time at a brewery called Rockingham, and the logo is a pig in a rocking chair. It's Rockingham. Get it? Something about this, it not being metallic, it did in fact adhere to the fabric. Thought I had enough ribbon to go around the bottom of the skirt at the initial length that I cut it, but naturally, because everything else was not going well, I was a couple inches short. Back to the cutting table, made sure that the ribbon would fit around the bottom, and did end up getting the trim that I was hoping for. I did end up pairing that with just a black t-shirt at the work party. Festive enough. I felt like I had put in some effort, and because it's a full circle skirt, it was a really good garment to spin around in, and also turned out to be very helpful as a ping pong ball catcher. Like I kind of spread it out like a tarp. The only time I ever play beer pong is at this work party, and listen, I'm blind in one eye. I have very trash depth perception, and I was killing it. I didn't go to college, so I don't know the ins and outs of the game, but I was just on a luck streak when the people we were competing against kept missing the cup. Used my skirt to kind of catch all of the ping pongs. A versatile garment, we could say. I don't see myself wearing it again, so I am gonna salvage as much of the fabric as I can for bag linings or something like that. It won't go completely to waste. It's not like it's getting thrown in the trash. That's not what we're about here. So what do we do now? Well, I very much burnt myself out trying to make those garments happen, and I really wasn't feeling them. I'm feeling tremendously uninspired about what to do for the next holiday, which is a New Year's Eve wedding that I will be attending. I do have some thrifted dresses that I can wear. I have worn to many a wedding. I'd like to kind of reignite the fires and perhaps come up with some new plan, while also like reflecting on the past year as far as my makes. Now I know this was a very big year for market vlogs and studio prep. That meant a lot of inventory sewing, which I didn't necessarily show y'all. Markets are more sparse at the beginning of the year. It'll give me time to kind of fine-tune some things around here. And obviously you can see I'm trying a slightly different setup. I have a very exciting studio update to share. I basically have a second space to be using that doesn't make me want to die every time I need to do product photography. So it's just in the beginning stages. Not that there's going to be much more than this, but having a permanent like photo setup is going to be a game changer for a number of reasons. I've only ever been able to set up my backdrop and photo taking stuff for like a couple hours because I don't have room in my studio for it, and the only space on this floor of the house was where Bert's pen is. It means I have to break that down every time I want to set up the backdrop and stuff, but that needs to be available for Bert to go in it because that's his home. That meant I couldn't just leave everything up. This is also near a window, which I'm in a basement. I don't have any access to daylight, so that'll be really nice, especially in the winter months. I am a bog troll in my cave, and it does start to wear on me in the colder months, which we are in and careening further into. That'll do me a lot of good for a multitude of reasons. Really, I just need to get a desk. I already have 2 picked out. I'm just deciding which one to do. If anybody has chair recommendations, not necessarily even rolling chairs. It's okay if it scoots. I don't know why I'm opposed to having a rolling chair up there. It just doesn't feel quite right. So like, as far as looking forward, that is a big step in the right direction for me. I think it's gonna up my Etsy photography, my general like online presence. If you can't see in the reflection of my glasses, I did get a ring light for in here, which means there's just one tripod in front of my camera tripod, not 2 giant umbrella lights either side of the camera, where it took up all my floor space and it really limited where I could film. This is just a more portable, petite setup. It's just making everything easier. If you have any like notes or desires, preferences for things that go on around here, please don't hesitate to let me know. I always appreciate the comment section on these videos and everyone that hangs out in the Discord too. I feel like I'm amongst peers with y'all, and that's one of the coolest parts about being here. Ring light is one of my like new investments for the new year. I also got an incredible storage setup for my markets where I can keep all of my inventory in this setup I have. Also, a portable on wheels modular locking thing that I can cart around with me. I don't have any words for how happy I am about this. I am a storage nerd, like an office supply organization geek. It is like probably a bigger deal than it should be. A lot of this was either gifted or like I was sent funds to purchase this specifically. So I didn't actually end up having to spend that much money on it, which let me purchase some other things like the impending desk that will be here. And I was able to stock up on some fabric because one of my biggest sellers this year was my Howl's Moving Castle cardigan. So I did invest in like a whole bolt of certain of those fabrics. I do like to get as much fabric as I can secondhand. Once custom orders of specific things like that, I do need to order amounts of it. But I will say, especially with the Howl's Moving Castle cardigans, it's small pieces quilted together. By its nature, a very low waste thing for me to make because any little bits left over get added into the next round of quilting. All of the yellow bands that aren't quilted are all just rectangular shapes, so it's really easy to just utilize every bit of that fabric. Oh, and I almost forgot something else I invested in, treated myself to. I see us doing some t-shirt projects together with these shirts that I purchased. There's this account on Instagram I've been seeing for the past couple months called Untamed Ego. Had such successful markets at the end of the year that I decided to support some other small makers, and I got 4 shirts from them. If you are unfamiliar, you will start to see why this felt very my vibe. This is the sticker on there. This is what I'm talking about. And there's a garment care thing, which I need to make a point to do for the garments I sell because I personally wash my clothes on a cold cycle and tumble dry low. And they do have like a pre-distressed look fueled by spite and caffeine. I'm really letting the inner spooky bitch from my teen years shine these days, if that was not obvious. Genuinely the happiest I've been with like myself, my appearance, how I feel in my clothes. Why didn't I let myself do this sooner? Never better. Really speaking to me. This is one of my favorites, especially this time of year. It's hard to not sink into a deep dark hole of depression. Surviving purely out of spite gets me through certain days. And it's just like a bright, fun graphic in the middle. I feel like that describes my general like aesthetic. The way I phrase it when I'm applying for a market, if Wednesday Addams and her roommate Enid had a baby, you don't have to die to be dead to me. I am smitten with all of these, and I cannot wait to do some projects. I haven't planned anything in particular. There's a whole world of options. You can do some brainstorming sessions over at the Discord. If you ever want to join, just send me a message and I will DM you an invite link. Okay, so all of these new things are a good incentive and motivator for like things to come in the new year, but let us look back on some things that happened earlier this year and decide what I do like and what I absolutely do not like. We can basically do a like, where are they now of the 2023 sewing projects. Starting off with the first project of January 2023, my button-down princess seam dress. Now I did not dislike this. I did end up cutting up the skirt to be something else. I still have the crop top. I am debating if I'm gonna upcycle the fabric into something else. It wasn't hitting the way I was hoping it would, and I think maybe it just needed a lining or some stiffener on some of the bodice pieces in particular. I have to say, I hated dealing with the fact it was a button up. I really thought I would enjoy it, especially because it's the snaps. No, I will take a zipper any day. I guess kind of a successful learning experience, but not a keeper of a project. Then was the Howl's Moving Castle cardigan, which, as I mentioned, was the single best-selling thing on my Etsy shop. Not in-person events. Let me know if you are interested in like a breakdown of how many of each thing I sold this year and what like the income was, both online sales and in-person sales. I find that stuff really fascinating, but I don't know if it's like showing off or a vulnerable space to show you like how little I made. I don't know. If you want actual numbers, just let me know. We can do that like a beginning of the year video. I think it would be cool, but I don't want to like be shoving anything in anybody's face or boring anybody. But let me know. So that was a project I initially made for myself. Y'all have seen me. I'm not like a pastel clothing person. I never felt drawn to wearing it, so that's why I ended up selling that stuff. I get giddy every time I make one and I cut out the panels and it like starts to come together. It just looks so cool and it's so effective, and it makes me really happy to work on those. So definitely a win, even though I didn't end up keeping it for myself. Then I ended up making a little punk rock battle vest for my dog Bert. He has worn it the couple times I've brought him out to the breweries and stuff. Still has it, still fits. It's one of my favorite things to see people's reactions to. Then we got through a studio vlog, which I'm glad I did those. I think they're interesting to watch. Get a lot out of posting them because I very much underestimate and don't give myself enough credit for how much I get done in a week. When I review the footage for a studio vlog and kind of put that whole thing together, it really helps drive home how hard I push for my business to be successful. I had an ambitious list, and even though I might not have gotten every single thing on that initial list, maybe it changed shape throughout the week, I still got a lot of stuff done. And it's okay to just have a rest day. Not everything has to be go, go, go. So also trying to find a balance. Like, I know I have a hard time with all of that. I think I'm doing better, especially now that we're going every other Friday. That has been a incredible help. This video just wouldn't be happening. This setup, this new studio space I have upstairs, that wouldn't have been happening. Getting something out for the sake of having something out, it feels different now in the best way possible. So I hope that's coming across. Like this current video I'm filming, I am just so excited to talk about these things, and it's not like, oh, I need an end of the year video. What do I guess I'll do this. That's not how I felt coming into this. Thank you for being here. Also, straight up, it is because of everybody over on Patreon. We are able to have this space, that I'm able to take the time to do this, that I'm able to do every other week for video output and focus on other elements of my business and just work on better projects. And when I have 2 projects in a row, I'm looking at you, Taffeta, and then Tree Skirt. When they don't go to plan and are falling apart, I don't have to have this frantic, like, what am I gonna do? Like, that's my whole week lost for a video. Like, I don't have that panic anymore. And it's because of y'all. Anyways, then it was into Steed Bonnet cosplay planning, and then the mock-up I did, which kind of immediately went out the window when I tried on that dress that I was gonna cut up for material, and then when I put it on, it's like, this is the most perfect fitting dress I've ever worn. That was like a complete 180, but in a good way. That's a lot less work for me. Those are cool, like, work logs. So I still deem those as wins. Bests, perhaps. It did change shape, which is gonna happen. That's the thing with setting goals at the beginning of the year, is that you are gonna be a different person at the end of the year. So don't be so hard on yourself for like not getting through this checklist that you set up as a previous you. It's okay if that morphs into something else. Oh dang, and then that was the time of year. So okay, this is 8 months ago. So yeah, that sounds about right. Like April is when I got my grid cube table display set up, and that was such a big game changer. I'm gonna call that one of the best things, like maybe the best business thing I did this entire year, was get that grid cube set up. So we'll see if something else tops that as far as like things I got up to this year, but that might be the best one. And then I will say, I don't know if anybody noticed this. This is around the time I started changing how I did my thumbnails. So it used to be like a side-by-side, or I don't know. I feel like too much going on. And then I did start simplifying them and adding some more color. I did notice, not by anything extreme, but in general, my view counts were a little higher per video. I got an industrial. I take back everything I said about the grid cubes. This was the best purchase of my whole year. What was I talking about? I'm literally leaning on it right now. Best purchase I made. Biggest purchase I made. Easily. Worth absolutely every penny. This is my top thing of the year, I think. Best Sewing Nerd Studios anything of the whole year. And I guess I did build it. Like, I didn't build the whole engine or anything from scratch, but me and my partner had to like construct a lot of it and get it together. Let's see, I showed y'all how I make my newer style of tote bags. I really like those. Of course, then when I made a big batch, because they seem to be doing well, everyone stopped buying them. So now I have a bunch just sitting around. It's hard not to feel like a little defeated when that happens. I think by the time this is up, I would like to have those for super discount on my Etsy shop. But in general, especially the Doctor Who one that I did in that video, it was a good progression in my sewing skills. I thought it was a helpful tutorial. I feel like I don't do like straight up tutorials that much anymore, but that felt like a good one. Oh, and it says upgrading my tote bag designs and job updates. Right. I have been almost entirely self-employed since that. So that was May. I am a part-time employee at a brewery, but the only things I've been doing there, I run trivia nights that I built the whole game myself, and then I do a Ales and Alterations night, which I'm not on the clock there. I'm just doing stuff for me there. That all feels like stuff I've built, and putting markets together, which again, like, that's my own work. It's just being hosted there. So I don't think that diminishes anything. Actually, at first I was hard on myself about that for some reason, but looking back, like, every bit that got me through this year is stuff I made happen. Obviously, a huge chunk of that is y'all, like y'all coming to my markets, y'all supporting me on Patreon, y'all buying stuff for my Etsy shop, y'all just even following my business Instagram, stuff like that. Hanging out, watching a video, liking the videos, bits that build to my livelihood. I don't know, that feels pretty good. We've built something pretty darn cool here, I think, and I am the luckiest bean in the whole goddamn world. This is reminding me I have some patterns set aside for stuff I'd like to make. I don't think I have time to get one of those dresses done for the wedding on New Year's Eve, but I should prioritize doing one of those sooner than later. I'm not feeling doing the dresses right now. Something about finishing the walkaway dress, it filled whatever void was in my heart that week for sewing projects, because all I want to do is make more bags. I just want to make more sling bags. Thankfully I have some cut out and prepped, like ready to assemble, and then I have some ideas for some other new bags I want to make in the new year that I will share as we go through it. I think I'm coming to terms with the fact that I'm just going to wear a thrifted dress to this wedding, which is fine, because one of the dresses I have worn to probably 7 weddings. Oh yeah, then I made my Our Flag Means Death depression robe crop top. I almost cut that up the other day. It's not really my color scheme. I like how it came together. I don't know why I have mixed feelings on that. I'm not gonna call it a best or a worst. It's a neutral. What do I do with it? What do you do with things that you make and you aren't sure about? I could always just cut it up and use the fabric for more bags. I think I have a problem. A good problem to have, but still a problem. Then I did a bunch of alterations, and those I think were good. They were like kind of tricky ones, but I think they were helpful. Like how to make a dress bigger in the waist, adding those elastic panels. I almost said electric panels. Different thing. Resizing that Taylor Swift Eras Tour t-shirt. For some reason, all of those sizes are off. Like they seem so much bigger than they need to be. And then turned a t-shirt into a tank top. Simple, but effective. I still wear that one, so call that a win. The alterations I did for those people, I got great responses on them. The project that makes me giggle the most is Bert's Stinky Couture dog snuggie that I made for him. He still wears it. It's still great. It's probably like his main winter coat right now. It's just endlessly delightful. So that's the only thing that's topping his little battle jacket that I made for him. That's a pretty good one. Then I did a lot of market things. This must be starting in September. September through this past weekend, I just did an unhinged number of events, and I am very burnt out on a lot of things. Between the work I put in to building the inventory and just like working the events and peopling, I did too much, especially when I had 3 events in like a 36-hour span. Why did I do that to myself? I did make 100 bags in a week. I impressed myself, but also should not be the standard. That was an absurd amount of work to get done in a week, because I was also doing other stuff, including editing the video I put out that week. It is fabric organization. I'm still reaping the benefits from that. And then we're up to the walkaway dress videos, which I call a win, even just from like a practice, research, mock-up, learning standpoint. There is a part of me disappointed in the lack of actual sewing projects I shared. So as with all things, it's finding a balance. And I think I just got so caught up in the panic of losing the uniform store job and like having to way overcompensate with my own stuff, which I made it happen. I managed to stay afloat through the end of the year, did well enough that I was able to reinvest some of that into new lighting, second office space. I mean, it's in the house. It's not like I am at a place that I'm like renting somewhere outside of the home. Yeah, I feel like I've made a lot of upgrades, and I have been spending a lot of time this week trying not to work. Like, I haven't sewn anything this week, so does that count? Because I've really been in these rabbit holes as far as video stuff, just like trying to learn about making my videos like 1% better. And same thing with like my business Instagram and my Etsy shop, just trying to improve those things. And then hopefully that will continue spreading out into other facets of my life. So like my in-person events doing alterations will improve, and then my markets will improve, and everything kind of helps the other category. So I don't know. I know I am doing a lot and maybe too much, but I'm doing it all for me is what it feels like. For us here too, like sharing this whole journey, I would not be anywhere near the place I'm at without all of this. Like this whole community here, like y'all are such a big pillar in my life. That was very cheesy, but it's true. So, and on that note, I guess I'll see you back here in 2 weeks. Thank you so much for hanging out. Made with love and some cuss words, but mostly love. Ugh, I don't want to touch it.